debate. It is now 689 days since the referendum. I suspect you count each and every one of them off. Why has the government still not got a policy on our future trading relationship with the EU?
Well, significant progress has been made in all sorts of areas in the negotiations with the EU. If you've been a member of a club for 40 years, if you've built up the ties and relationships that we have, then disentangling those in order to get all the benefits of Brexit necessarily take time. But as Simon Coveney, the Irish Deputy Foreign Minister, said earlier in this programme, we now have a situation where we have agreement on an implementation period in order to get some of the details absolutely right. We also have agreement that the rights of EU citizens and UK citizens will be respected. We have agreement on the amount that the UK will pay as we leave. And also, in the great article that the Prime Minister's written in the Sunday Times today, we have agreement across the government that leaving the European Union will give us the opportunity to sign new trade deals so that we can take advantage of globalisation's benefits. And also, we will have the opportunity to take back control of our money and our laws.
Sure, that's a long-winded way, if you'll forgive me, of saying all the things you have achieved. But 689 days since the referendum, you are apparently no closer to the most central thing, which is what our future economic relationship with the EU should be. Now, you're on a cabinet working group to deal with this so-called new customs partnership. Boris Johnson calls it crazy. Is he right?
Well, you mentioned that I was long-winded. I think what I was trying to do was to emphasise that over the 600 or so days, we have made progress in lots of areas.
Is Boris Johnson right to call it crazy?
Well, you ask about Boris's comments on the new customs partnership. In the interview that Boris gave to the Daily Mail, he pointed out some of the flaws with the new customs partnership. And across government, across cabinet, there is agreement that neither of these two models is absolutely perfect. And with the new customs partnership, Boris pointed out that because it's novel, because no model like this exists, there have to be significant question marks over the deliverability of it on time. More than that, what the new customs partnership requires the British government to do is, in effect, to act as the tax collector and very possibly the effective delivery of regulation for the European Union. And the Prime Minister is very clear today that what we need to do is to take back control of our borders. And that means not just trade, but, of course, as the PM pointed out, control of immigration numbers.
I want to be clear, though. Is it the government's view, is it your view, as someone on the committee, that this idea is crazy?
It's my view that the new customs partnership has flaws and that they need to be tested, and that the Prime Minister, quite rightly, has set up two groups, one on which I sit to look at the new customs partnership, another one on which David Davis, Karen Bradley and Greg Clark will sit in order to look at the other highly streamlined customs arrangements that we're putting forward.
Let's be clear what your job is on this working group. Let's be clear what your job is. You don't want to say
our job is as cabinet ministers.
Hold on, I'll ask the question if it's OK, and then you could answer it.
Well, I was answering your earlier question.
Is it your job to save the new customs partnership, dubbed crazy by Boris Johnson, or is it your job to bury it?
It's our job, as we do every day in government, Nick, to look at different policy options and to test them rigorously. One of the things about government is that whether we're developing a new policy on air quality or a policy on customs, that the expertise of different government departments, the ministers who lead them, the brilliant officials who work with us, is then brought to bear. And when a policy proposition is put forward, whether it is the new customs partnership or an alternative, then naturally we'll want to make sure that it meets certain tests. And the Prime Minister laid out those tests very clearly in her article in the Sunday Times today. What we need to do is to make sure that we're outside the customs union. That's what people voted for. That was what was in our manifesto at the time of the last general election. And critically,
you ministers are taking back control from the experts, are you? So Ollie Robbins, who's the Prime Minister's key advisor...
No.
You're taking back control because he's come up with a policy that's crazy, and it takes the like of you and Boris Johnson to make it not crazy.
That's so unfair to Ollie Robbins and to the other colleagues.
Just so we're clear, Ollie Robbins, a man you support staying in that job and think he's doing a good job.
I spent an hour with Ollie last week talking through all of these issues. It was an incredibly enjoyable and fascinating conversation.
So all those people who say he should be sacked, people who say his policies are crazy, you're telling him to shut up?
Yes, he's a very able and genuinely public-spirited civil servant who's doing an excellent job. But the truth is that it's always the case in government that you will have discussions between civil servants who will offer ideas and then ministers who will test them robustly.
I want to get your response to Simon Coveney, because you mentioned
the use of the phrase "take back control," which you deployed there with such such wit and guile. The truth is that taking back control is what we voted to do as a country those 600-odd days ago, and what we're seeking to do, and what Ollie is helping us to do, is to make sure that we have the policies that deliver for the British people.